All right. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Radio Hyrule's Hyrule Academy with Super MC Gamer, who's here with me right now.
Hello, Scott. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, sir. And now I'm about to hand over the hosting duties to him since this is his radio show. I've always wanted... Everyone keeps commenting on my radio voice, so now I get to finally try it out. We'll see what you guys think.
It may be internet radio, but it's still radio. Just shh.
The dream is real. It's coming true.
The dream is real. The Smash is real, but we don't have Smash Brothers. This is Zelda show. This is a Zelda show.
Not yet, but soon, my friend. July comes forth.
Yeah, but I'm thinking we should do a Smash radio show too.
Oh man, all we could talk about was the professional Smash circuit. Let's do it.
Even better, we can just commentate it like how people commentate basketball games.
Oh, that would be perfect. I think you're about to start here, so I'm going to turn it off to you.
Oh, yeah, I gotta do a show now. All right, let's do it.
So, this is the cool thing. He can't hear me right now because I have push to talk.
Go ahead and go on mute, Scott, and I will be back with you, and I will tell you to unmute during like the song before.
Okie dokie.
You're tuned into Radio Hyrule and our show, Hyrule Academy.
Oh boy! So yeah, he can't hear me at all because I'm muted at the moment. So hello, my audience. You're going to be getting a little bit of a behind-the-scenes look. Hopefully you tuned into the actual radio show. I tried to tweet it out and everything. So yeah, I'm really excited about this. I get to try out my radio voice. So yeah, I'll be sure to edit this down so that it's only the really awesome and relevant, stuff. So yeah. Oh yeah, it just went live. I can see it up there. Yeah. So yeah, for those of you who don't know, this is Radio Hyrule. It is an internet radio station that plays nothing but Legend of Zelda music and Legend of Zelda programming. MC actually hosts his own radio show, which you can see the information to right there. 10 p.m. Eastern Time, RadioHyrule.com. Check it out. It's good stuff.
Hey everybody, this is MC, and welcome to Hyrule Academy, your Friday Zelda show here on Radio Hyrule, where we talk all about the lore, fan theories, and ever so much more. I will shut up and let you listen to the music. Keep it locked to Radio Hyrule and Hyrule Academy. Okay. Can't be heard now. Let me see what else they have here.
I think I might get to talk to MC now. We'll wait until he gives us the okay. But I want to show off my shirt. It's good stuff. It's a link between worlds. So, yeah.
Hello.
Hi. I can do that. I can be quiet and stuff.
All right. You just might want to stay quiet for now. In about, I'd say like 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes. We should be good.
Okay. So yeah, here we go, viewers of mine. Here's your behind-the-scenes stuff.
Indeed.
Oh man, I can't wait to get talking about this. I've got so much good stuff to say.
Excellent.
And I'm really glad that there's such an active chat going on. This is going to be a good experience, I think.
Hey guys, it's MC, and welcome back to Hyrule Academy right here on Radio Hyrule. I hope you are all having a wonderful evening. I hope you enjoyed that music that we just had. I know some of you guys in chat, I saw you confused, and you were wondering, what is this music? And I'm going to let you know right now. The first song we heard was the Graveyard theme from Wand of Gamelon, and I thought to bring that in, there's not really any great graveyard music inside the Legend of Zelda series overall. It's really strange. I searched and looked, and most of the songs just really don't have any feeling, and there's no remix of them. So I decided to go inside a little bit of an unconventional place and went to the CDI games, and they provided an excellent track. So thank you very much to Wanda Gamelon and whoever composed that poor soul who had to stare at that game for hours making music for it. Also, then we heard from
CDI games are terrible.
Zeratools. Zeratul from OC Remix. That was the Kakariko Rave Party. I decided that Kakariko needed a little life in it after all that deadness with the Graveyard song. So there you go. Gave you that. It was a really wonderful remix. Thanks to him. And then we finished it off with some Mario Paint cover of Deku Palace. You must be saying, why would you play that? That doesn't fit inside the theme of the Composer Brothers at all. However, what was that song made in? That's right, Mario Paint Composer. Composer Brothers. It's a little bit of a play on words, and it was a stretch, but I've always wanted to play some Mario Paint music so far inside the show, and I was like, you know what? It's just enough of a stretch that it'll be funny if I do it. So there you go. Anyways, it's time to get into our discussions, and with me I have a very special guest. It is GreatScottLP. Scott, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing just fine, MC. I'm happy to be here.
Excellent. Glad to hear it. So, I got a few questions just to break the ice a little bit, just to kind of say hello. And the first question is, of course, when did you start playing Zelda? Tell me about your Zelda history.
Well, that's a great question. Basically, it goes back to my first foray into video games in general. So the very first sort of video games that I ever played on my own was when I was 8 years old. I saved up my allowance money to purchase a Game Boy Color, and I was able to do that. I saved up for a very long time, and there was a $100 Game Boy Color kind of package deal at Costco. Back then it was known as Price Club. And it came with the purple Game Boy Color. It came with a cartridge of Pokemon Red and a little carrying case. And you know what the second game I ever got on that system was? It was Link's Awakening. So that was my very first exposure to The Legend of Zelda. And that is, in fact, the first Zelda game I ever played, and it's also the only Zelda game I've never actually beaten. One of these days I'm going to get back to it, but that was my first foray into Zelda.
That's very interesting. Link's Awakening was also my first. Now my next question for you, and before we get into our discussion, just one more question I think would do, is what are you looking forward to from the Zelda series? What would you like to see as we're going forward with Hyrule Warriors and of course Zelda Wii U? What is the big thing that stands out in your mind as what Zelda needs right about now?
That's an excellent question. So I'm very much looking forward to Hyrule Warriors Name Not Final. I think that it's going to be a pretty entertaining game. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be an excellent addition to the Wii U, and certainly the Wii U needs some excellent additions right about now. So I'm very much looking forward to that. In terms of where I want the series to go, I'm really hoping that the next 3D Zelda on the Wii U is going to be something that is more oriented toward the Wii U Pro controller. I think that's where the Wii U needs to go with its games in general at this point. So I'm hoping that instead it focuses on really good story, great music, great gameplay like The Legend of Zelda is known for, and relies less on kind of gimmicky stuff. Like I'm playing through Skyward Sword for the first time right now because I actually never owned a Wii. And it's a very good game, but at the same time, I feel kind of cheated out of the gaming experience by all of the motion control stuff. So I hope that they really kind of focus on getting back to what makes the Legend of Zelda series so great, which is the solid story, gameplay, and music.
All right, very good. All right, so you heard the intro, and you heard a little bit about the Composer Brothers. Now a few questions for you, because you have done your research, I'm sure. You went to the old library, took out the Book of Medora, and did your research. I'm right.
Absolutely, I have all of the ancient books of the history of Hyrule here on my my library shelf.
Excellent, wonderful, excellent. So my first question is about how the Composer Brothers relate to the Wind Waker, and I know exactly where I'm going to go with this. But instead of just saying it and being the know-it-all that I am, I want to see what you have to say about how these Composer Brothers could even relate to the Wind Waker at all. And so go ahead with that.
Well, obviously, the Composer Brothers were servants of the royal family of Hyrule, and they were doing research into the effects of music in relation to time and the passage of time and stuff like that. And it's quite obvious that some of the songs in the Ocarina of Time game are directly related to the Composer Brothers' work. Obviously, there's the Sun Song, and there's other songs that are debatable that could be tied to them, but it's really interesting because the Wind Waker is a conductor's baton. And of course, in the lore of the Wind Waker, the King of Red Lions, who spoilers happens to be the the King of Hyrule, he reveals that the baton has special powers that allow it to interact with nature and stuff like that, and it was used in the royal courts. So very much so, the Wind Waker could be tied to them. In fact, if you look at one of the brothers, I believe it's Sharp. Sharp is the tall one, correct?
I believe I don't have their pictures in front of me. Unfortunately, I don't have their profiles and mugshots at on hand.
Yes, Flat. No, Flat is the tall one.
Okay.
I believe both of them have conductor's batons, both in Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time. So it's very possible that the Wind Waker is directly linked to these two individuals.
Yeah, that was pretty much my theory as well. You very much mentioned that how the king would conduct inside the royal family. He would be the one conducting with the Wind Waker, and so I think it's very possible that perhaps some of his musical experience and the songs he would play would be, of course, from the Composer Brothers, and of course the Song of Passing from that game is probably very much related to the Sun song. And I don't want to get into that too much because we are very much behind on time already. So
that's unfortunate. I did want to say really quickly that the one song in the Wind Waker that ties back into the previous games is in fact the Song of Passing, and that's
right.
very much tied in with the Composer Brothers. So there you go.
Excellent. So the next one is something that I was trying to get the chat to talk about but they didn't really catch on, and I want to see if you caught on to this. What about Hylia, the goddess? Have you played through Skyward Sword yet, my friend?
I am still in the middle of playing through it, so I think I'm about a fourth of the way through the game at this point. It's hard to find the time to play games for fun these days.
I completely understand this, so I'll give you a brief history. So, how they were researching the magical powers of the royal family of the Composer Brothers. For whatever reason, they decided to bring in composers for this. And so, what if this is the magical powers that they're researching is Hylia, Hylia's secret power, the goddess, and that blood, the blood of the goddess has flown through the royal family, and so that is where the magical powers come from. But the history of that is so dated in the point of Ocarina of Time that they don't know about it, and they have to get somebody in there to research it. So I think that's very, very, very interesting. I don't know if you can relate to that, or if you'd rather we just move on because you're still playing the game, but.
Yeah, I'm trying to remain as spoiler-free as possible. I've been able to for a number of years, including attending 2 Zeldathons now, so I'm excited to experience this story on my own.
All right, then I will keep my mouth shut and we'll move on to the next subject, which is a funny question. It's something that you don't really think about. As Pose, like when they've died and they are now just Pose guarding the royal tomb, what might have they experienced other than Link coming around with an ocarina and opening up the royal tomb? What else could they have been, experienced inside their life? Do you have any opinions or thoughts?
Well, part of me wants to believe that Dampé is constantly waging some sort of war against them, like not necessarily like a fighting war, but just like a comic sort of. He has his own way of maintaining the graves or the graveyard, and they have their own idea for how they're going to protect the royal tomb, and that they're constantly butting heads. It seems kind of like sort of like the idea for a really, really dumb kind of sitcom kind of thing.
Yeah, Dampé versus the Composer Brothers. Like, I see the Composer Brothers. They're setting up this barbed wire or something, and Dampé is coming around with his broom, and he's like, "Well, hey, what do you think you're doing, Sharp?" And Sharp looks directly at the camera, and he's just like, "Just doing my job." Laugh track. It would be a great. That'd be a great sitcom. That'd be actually really, really amazing.
Someone should do it as a machinima video.
Yeah, that seems like a lot of work. I will do no such thing, but thank you for these discussions and to the chat. Thank you guys for keeping the discussions alive. We will be tuning to getting your opinions here in just a few minutes, and Scott will be right here with me. So thank you again, Scott, for giving some opinions.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now I want to remind you guys to go over to RadioHyrule.com/chatroom if you want to hear on what we're talking about, if you want to give your inputs and your thoughts and your questions for us here inside the not Radio Hyrule studio. Anyways, I would like to remind you that you are watching or listening listening to Hyrule Academy right here on Radio Hyrule. And we'll be back in just a few after a short musical interlude. Boop, boop, boop. Boop, boop, boop. Boop, boop, boop.
See, this is funny because I can't hear the music at all.
Yeah.
So MC can't hear me right now. We are really pressed for time. It's unfortunate. You don't get to talk as much as you want to during a scheduled radio show where you have a set amount of time. So we haven't had the opportunity to talk about some of the theories that I wanted to talk about in terms of the songs that go into The Legend of Zelda, and also a theory that the game designers based Flat and Sharp, the Composer Brothers, off of Mario and Luigi. So I think I'm going to get the chance to briefly talk about that in a second. But yeah, it's interesting because I've never done radio before, so the fact that we have so little time to actually talk about stuff, but there's so much time where right now music's playing. So
Welcome back to Radio
Here we go.
Hyrule's own lore show called Hyrule Academy every Friday. How are you all doing this day? I hope you guys are having a wonderful evening. I am here with GreatScottLP. How are you, Scott?
still doing just fine.
Excellent. So we were listening to some great music, and I want to get through that because we have a lot to discuss tonight. So that song that we just heard was In the Court of the Hyrulean King, and it was by the Master Sword Band. I discovered them just this week looking for music for tonight's show, and I thought, what a better song than to have this one, because when I think of In the Court of the Hyrulean King, Scott mentioned this earlier in the show, I imagine the king with the Wind Waker playing the Composer Brothers songs, so I thought that was a really good song. It really ties into our theme quite interestingly, so I decided to bring that in, and I think it went quite well. Anyways, it's time to get into our discussions again, my friends, and I have some interesting things for you. Before we get into your guys' stuff, I do want to touch on one thing that Scott brought up to me. And so, Scott, would you like to explain that to the audience, what your theory is that you have here? It's a theory that's actually apparently widespread, but you want to present it to us because I haven't heard it before, apparently. So go ahead.
Yes, so one of the things that has circulated about the Composer Brothers has to do more with the development of the game than it does with the actual lore of The Legend of Zelda in general. So there is widespread speculation, but nothing official, that the Composer Brothers are based off of Mario and Luigi. And you can see this in the character designs. They both have mustaches. One is in green, that's Flat. His symbol on his hat is green. He is taller. The red one, Sharp, he is shorter, and he has a red symbol on his hat. And so there's also that relationship between the brothers and everything like that. So there's a lot of widespread speculation that the developers base these two characters off of Mario and Luigi.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Is that there's really, like you said, it's not really much of a lore thing, but I think it's a very interesting little note that and it's Nintendo has done that quite a few times. They like referencing Mario and Luigi in games, like even if it's very slight, very very simple. And I think that's a really wonderful thing that Nintendo does. And they're both brothers. There's also that as well. So, anyways, that is the Composer Brothers. Anyway, so now we're going to touch on some brief ideas that we had from the chat when we were talking about. What sort of race they could be. Nightwind said that they could not be Gerudo because the Gerudos are all female, and that makes sense, right, Scott? It all makes sense.
Yes, it does, except for every 1 in 100, which happens to be male.
Right, and that would be Ganondorf, and unfortunately, they can't have brothers then because can only be one. So there we go. Myth deconfirmed. Next up, we have something from Doom Zombie, who says that I'm guessing that they're Hylian and Sheikah, considering that they're from Kakariko, but not Guardians of the Royal Family. However, my friend, remember that they are servants, and they do work for the Royal Family. So it's I'd say they are completely Sheikah, and in fact, that is brought to us even more full force by Newtman King, who says, while Kakariko was a Sheikah village in the past, before Impa opened it up to the public. So there you go. I think that pretty much just seals it away, that if they were from Kakariko, and it was a long time ago before they died, that most definitely they were Sheikah. Is any other opinions from you, Scott?
No, I completely agree with that because, they're from Kakariko Village. That is the ancestral home of the Sheikah, and the Sheikah are the servants of the royal family. And what do the Composer Brothers do? They do secret research into the magic of songs that can transport you through time and affect time and the passage of time and all that. So to me, that just kind of seals it.
And we also have one more thing to kind of, while you say that seals it, maybe I'm a little more unsure. And so we have one more thing that we have from our friend Mildly Upset Deity, who says the following. The Composer Brothers have wonderful mustaches. Did the Sheikah ever have such wonderful facial hair? I think not. But you know what the Hylian do? But you know what Hylian did? King Daphne's. Confirm. The Composer Brothers are Hylian. And I'm scared. I think he brings up some fair points, but I'm gonna toss this one into the plausible bin, I'd have to say.
Myth plausible.
Yes, indeed. All right, so from Captain Trina, we have of all the games in Ocarina of Time, we can safely assume that the brothers did not of all the songs. This is a typo. Did not compose the Sage's songs and Warp songs, which I believe is also correct. Those were songs that must have been much more deep within the history of Hyrule, or even of Sheik/Zelda's own creation.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a possibility. To me, it seems like there are 3 songs that could have been composed by the brothers. The one that is absolutely definitely composed by them is, of course, the Sun Song, because they were both independently researching songs that would affect the sun and the moon. They combined their research into the Sun Song. Less so probably the Song of Time, although personally I think that they were definitely involved with the creation of the Song of Time. It makes perfect sense since the Ocarina of Time probably originates from them, and it seems like the Ocarina of Time was made specifically for the Song of Time. And then less so the Song of Storms, because you learn the Song of Storms in Kakariko Village. It is possible that it originated from them, but it doesn't quite affect time, more the weather. So those are my thoughts.
Okay, very, very good. And then everybody agrees. I believe RoboMan says something who he pretty much agree with you, with the exception that he thinks that that the origin of the Song of Storms is probably Link learning it from the Composer Brothers directly, and we never saw it. And while that's an interesting theory, I don't think it's a very, very, very strong one. Giant X, however, says that perhaps the research of these songs was all about taming nature, because their songs revolved around nature, specifically about like the Sun Song and being able to make plants grow and things of that nature. Do you have any thoughts or insight into that, Scott?
I mean, it's definitely feasible. I think that there's kind of this theme that was established by Ocarina of Time as a game, that it's not so much that it's just the instrument that's magical or it's just the song that's magical. It's both together that kind of do that. So in that regard, they probably did some research into how both of those could amplify each other, and it's very, very possible that they were also researching how that would affect nature as well.
And there's something else you were saying right there that's perfectly ties in, that you were saying that it's not only the song or the instrument that is magical, it's them together. However, there's something you're forgetting. Captain Trina comes in and says, okay, revised magic music's theory. Songs are only magical if played by a Triforce bear, and the Ocarina of Time helps boost that power. And this is a very strong theory because these songs, we only see them ever work inside the hands of Link or Zelda. What would happen if Saria was to be doodling around on her instrument and she accidentally played the Song of Time or something of that nature? What would have happened? Any thoughts on that, Scott?
That is a very, very interesting question. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but Saria was able to teach Link certain songs that had magical abilities, such as Saria's song, because you're able to telepathically communicate with her. So I think it's a good theory, but I don't know if there's just enough evidence to confirm it 100%.
Right. I believe what the it would be more so we can confirm it if we went on the idea that it's only going to be magical if the person possesses sacred power, which is a strong theory. It's one of my biggest things. I'm probably having an episode dedicated all about sacred power, but like it's the power that the Triforce holds. It's the power that Hylia's blood carries. It's the power that even Ganondorf has. That he learned how to use his sacred power for evil and such things as that. So I think that perhaps the power of sacred power through like being channeled through an instrument and into the notes is how it works. But getting into that is something that's way beyond the Composer Brothers. They did their research, and maybe we'll never know what it exactly was. But it's definitely something to think about. But
yeah,
anyways,
absolutely.
yeah, so thank you very much, Scott. Thank you for you really helped me think that one out. I really enjoyed that. Anyways, you guys are tuned into Hyrule Academy every week right here on Radio Hyrule. Be sure to join RadioHyrule.com/chatroom. Talk to the chat. I have an excellent music blog coming up for you. I have one song that's going to be absolutely beautiful and one song that's going to make you giggle. So keep along here to Radio Hyrule. Be talking to you in just a short bit.
All right, that one's definitely going to YouTube. So I posted in the Radio Hyrule chat that it's silent for me because I can't hear the music, which is true, except for the occasional MC Gamer giggle in my ear.
Yeah. Hey guys, welcome back to Hyrule Academy right here on Radio Hyrule. I hope you guys have had a very fun night. I know I sure have, and I know that we have a lot of fun stuff ahead of us inside the coming weeks. But for now, let's recap what you guys have been listening to. First up, you heard the Kakariko Village vocal remix by SuperMCG, and I discovered her as well this week, and I was very, very entranced by her singing style. I believe she's also done covers of the Ballad of the Goddess, singing as if she was Zelda, which I'm sure is absolutely great. I want to go in and listen almost immediately, perhaps after the show even. And we heard Kakariko Prom, and that was from Flick, and that song is absolutely great. It really makes you feel like you're at a prom, a Kakariko Prom at that. And I think it was a really wonderful song, and I love the vocals they did for that. And I'd love to see more stuff like that, like trying to bring you into the Zelda universe, even if it is a bit of a parody universe. It's really wonderful. Anyway, guys, we do have to recap some discussions real quick. And so we had a lot of opinions here today, both from me and my guest here, Scott. Thank you again, Scott, for your opinions.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a fun time.
Indeed. So we did come to the conclusion, pretty much, that the Composer Brothers were Sheikah. There's really not much evidence that goes up against it. Well, some people say that their mustache is enough to discredit them. We haven't seen many Sheikah males inside the Zelda series, so you know what? Maybe the Sheikah did have excellent facial hair that we just did not know about. Well, I think we can keep on with that one. We also had some facts that in addition to the Sun Song, they also composed the Song of Time, and perhaps even the Song of Storms. But there's not strong information on that, and we can only think it's a theory, and we'll hold that theory close to our hearts, kind of. Hold it close to our hearts and believe in it. And lastly, we did hear from a lot of people that they were involved possibly with the creation of instruments, possibly the Ocarina of Time or even the Wind Waker, and so they were very involved with that, and they helped compose songs using the Wind Waker even for the king to use. And I'm very much strongly behind that theory, and I'm sure Scott is as well.
Yes, I am.
Good, because the Wind Waker is a great game, and I really think the theories really need to be fleshed out, because there's such an excellent backstory for the Wind Waker that I like to talk about it, and I like to talk about the games afterwards, which is why next week we're going to be talking about the Ocean King. So be sure to do your homework and learn about the Ocean King and who he is, Oshus, and we'll get a lot of information and talk about him next week, Friday at 10 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, right here on Radio Hyrule. Anyways, we got to wrap this up now, my friends. We got to wrap this up. I feel like we've been together for a short time, but it's also been a whole hour. So lastly, I'd like to give a lot of thanks to Scott. Scott, thank you for coming on the show tonight. It's been really a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you for having me, MC.
Anyways, not to shove you off, Scott, I love you, but I do want to remind the people out there to donate to Radio Hyrule by going to RadioHyrule.com/donate. Doing so will allow the Radio Hyrule team to purchase new servers, new things, upgrade it, get more shows even. I don't even know what they're going to do. It's going to be absolutely crazy. It's going to be absolutely wonderful. And if you want to, you can email me at mcgamer@zeldathon.net with requests or any thoughts you might have for the show. I am open to hearing anything pretty much anytime. Lastly, I just want to thank you again for your inputs. Without you guys, the viewers, this show, well, it would exist, but it probably wouldn't be nearly as good. So it's really a pleasure to have you guys here. And lastly, I'd like to leave you with a wonderful quote from the Composer Brothers. "The rising sun will eventually set. A newborn's life will fade. From sun to moon, moon to sun, give peaceful rest to the living dead." Thank you all for watching, everybody, and I will leave you off with this song from Daybreaker, Memories of an Ocarina from OC Remix. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great evening.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, so that is the end of the show. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it from a little bit of the behind-the-scenes perspective. Hopefully this is the second time you're hearing it because you tuned in for the live broadcast. MC said that he would probably have me on in the future, and that's something that I'm very much looking forward to, and I'll be sure to hype it up for you guys so that you can tune in live.
Indeed.
So, MC, any final thoughts on how everything went?
It went wonderfully. I think that actually may have been the best episode of the show to date. There was no technical errors. The discussion was on point. The music was great. Everybody seemed to be thoroughly entertained. So thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Seriously, it was a lot of fun, and I'm really looking forward to putting this up on my channel to see people's reactions.
Excellent. So thank you again for coming on.
Anytime. And to my YouTube audience, thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like, comment below with your own suggestions about theories and stuff like that. If you want to see future topics, stuff like that, I can relay that information to MC, all that good stuff. So thank you so much again, and I will see you guys for the next video in the next episode. Goodbye.